It was an entertaining draft. We'll give our thoughts. Which teams do we think will reach the conference finals? Who's more to blame, management or Noah Syndergaard for his injury? Is the Red Sox and Orioles rivalry becoming too dangerous? And the Astros and Rangers finish up their first series of the season? What did we learn from it? Find out next. MCTV Sports 101 starts now. Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to MCTV Sports 101. I'm Kyle Stafford.
And I'm Billy Ingle.
Today we're joined by Andrew Marks, who is the co-host of the Overreaction and sports director at KTXC. How are we doing today, Andrew?
I'm doing great, guys. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Oh, we're excited to have you.
Yeah, always happy to have someone on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you guys ready? We got a great show lined up.
All right, let's get to it.
All right. 2017 NFL draft is complete, but not without a few twists and turns. Billy, what were your thoughts on the draft?
Overall, I thought it was a great draft. One of the picks that stood out to me was the Panthers going up and getting McCaffrey.
I like that pick a lot.
I think he fits their offense tremendously well.
He's going to be the second best receiver on that team and the best running back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The guy's versatility, you can't say enough about it. So I think with that Carolina Panthers offense with Cam Newton, that read option, that whole other thing style they got going, I think it works in well. But, another one, Patrick Mahomes going to 10, going number 10 to Kansas City. Obviously, I love the pick. I know you guys feel the same way. How do you guys feel?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I thought the best two fits were Kansas City and Arizona. I heard Kansas City really came on late strong, I would say, to try and get him. I like the pick. I think in 5 years under Andy Reid's system, I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
I'm in agreement there, and you couldn't ask for a better situation if you're Patrick Mahomes. Look at the receivers he has to throw to: Travis Kelce, Jeremy Maclin, Tyreek Hill, the stable of running backs, a decent offensive line, and a killer defense. I really love this pickup for the Chiefs and the fit for Patrick Mahomes. He's obviously going to sit behind Alex Smith for 1 year and then be the starter in 2018, but I love it.
Oh, yeah. And also with Kansas City, they lose Jamal Charles, so we'll see how that factors into, the rebuilding of that offense.
Yeah, they were fine last year with just Spencer Ware as a running back and then kind of having some backups. So I'm sure they'll be fine again this year. I think they'll want to upgrade running back at some point, but I think they'll be all right with that.
Yeah, and then we got Deshaun Watson going, and Houston moving up number 12 to get him. Now we know that he wasn't their number one guy, but to me, I still like the pick. I think he's a viable quarterback that can do good things in the NFL. You're a Houston fan. How do you feel?
Well, I'm okay with the pick. I think they needed a quarterback. They addressed that need because he is better than any quarterback they've had probably in their franchise history. We've talked about on the show, I'm not the biggest fan of Deshaun Watson, as a superstar-wise. I think he's a quality quarterback and he'll be fine. The main thing I was disappointed is that they didn't go after a cornerback. They lost some guys in the offseason. Boye was a big guy. They do have Kevin Johnson coming off an injury, so we'll see if that's enough.
Watch out for Deontay Foreman, too, from Texas going in the third round. I think that's a great pickup to back up Lamar Miller. I like what the Texans did.
Yeah, I do too. And now going back to my hometown, we're going to talk about Dallas a little bit. In the first round, they got Taco Charleston. I think it was a great pickup. They passed on guys like T.J. Watt, Reuben Foster, a couple of those other guys. But he's got length, he's got speed, he's got a lot of great things going for him. Got Chidobe Awuzie in the second round. I'm having trouble saying that, but they've done a lot. They came in defensive minded. They stuck to it, and I like what they did.
Same here. Awuzie, Rod Marinelli says he was the best tackling defensive back in this draft, so I'm excited about that. We'll be able to put him in the slot. He'll rotate, I guess, with Orlando Scandrick at that position. I also like the Jordan Lewis pick. We'll see if he gets suspended or not. He's going on trial for domestic violence in July, but Todd McShay had Jordan Lewis as his 35th best prospect. So the Cowboys address some needs on the defensive side of the ball, and as a fan, that's really all you can ask.
Yeah, I thought it was a good draft. We'll see overall what happens.
Yeah.
Second round, the NBA playoffs are underway. Billy, which teams do you think will reach the conference finals?
Well, a lot of these, we got Golden State, 2-0 up on Utah, Cleveland 2-0 up on Toronto.
Golden State's up 1.
Sorry.
They're playing the second game tonight.
Yeah, I've been getting ahead of myself already. I do think Golden State.
They probably will be up 2.
They probably will be up 2, and I think they probably most likely will sweep them. Utah maybe can get a game out of there.
Disrespectful to Utah.
I just don't.
I think they at least get 1 at home. It's
that's
tough to play in Utah.
They have a possibility to get 1, but man,
they're going to need more out of Gordon Hayward if that's the case.
Exactly.
4 for 15 from the field in game 1.
Their starters in general. The highest score was 13 points, and that was Rudy Gobert. And that's great for him, but at the same time, you got better scorers on that team that got to step up.
Exactly.
But they only lost by 12 to that point.
But
they were still in that game.
They were up by about 20 towards the end. They put in the backups. They had a lot of those backup points. But either way, I think, when it's all said and done, we all think Golden State's going to move on. The only really interesting one besides the Boston-Washington one, which we'll get into, but San Antonio-Houston, 1-1 right now. That first game, the Houston comes out guns blazing, shooting up 53s, most ever in a playoff game, and then, just dominating. And you know what? The Spurs, they've been saying it for years, but I'll tell you what, they looked old.
Yeah, I mean, they are getting old. I mean, Pau Gasol's not in his prime anymore. Tony Parker's not in his prime, although he looked good. And now he goes down with that injury. He's out for the rest of the playoffs. Manu is not the same player. I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge is not showing up for them.
He's supposed to be their number 2 guy.
Exactly.
They even got Tim Duncan coming in practice trying to tell him to be aggressive.
Well,
and it doesn't help.
There were some, maybe he has a knee injury. They were working him out before the game. I just don't know. I think they need more from LaMarcus Aldridge. I picked the Rockets in 6. I'm going to stick with that, especially now that Tony Parker's out. I think the Rockets are too good.
I have the Spurs in 7 still. I guess I have a little more faith in Patty Mills as a starting point guard than you guys
But you don't
do.
have any more depth now. I mean, there's no one to back Patty Mills up.
Manu Ginobili will probably slide over to the backup point guard role, and then Jonathan Simmons will probably get some more minutes, which I like. He brings some athleticism to the lineup for that old team. But if it goes 7, I like the Spurs at home. I know the Rockets have more firepower now with Parker out, but Game 7 in San Antonio, I can't go against the Spurs.
And just a real quick pick, do you guys think Boston will close it out, or do you think that Washington comes back?
I think with the way Isaiah Thomas is playing, Boston closes it out.
I'm going to say Washington makes it interesting, but Boston wins in 6.
I'm still going to stick with Washington. I pick Washington. I think they're too good. I love Boston. I love Boston and Brad Stevens, but I think that Washington just has more. I think we all assume Cleveland will be in the conference finals as well. It should be a great conference finals, and I think it'll be Rockets Warriors, and you guys probably think Spurs Warriors. Is that what it is?
Right now I'm going Rockets Warriors.
Rockets, okay.
I like Spurs Warriors and Celtics Cavs.
All right, be a good finish.
We'll see. New York Mets will be without the services of ace Noah Syndergaard for an extended period of time as he is dealing with a partial tear in his right lat muscle. The injury occurred during his start last Sunday after he refused to get an MRI earlier in the week. Kyle, whose fault was the injury, the Mets or Syndergaard?
I think it was a little bit of both, but I think it's more on the Mets because they've had these injuries before. They had one of the best pitching rotations in baseball, yet they've all missed time due to significant arm injuries. A lot of that's bad luck. You can't help it. I mean, guys, when they throw that hard, they're going to hurt their arms. But with this, you could have avoided it. Maybe he really did have the lat tear before that, and you could have just avoided that by getting him the MRI. I know he refused it. That's on his part, but you could just tell him, I'm not starting you until you get the MRI.
When you're talking about athletes, and especially world-class athletes like these are, they're not going to want to sit out a game.
And he throws 100 miles an hour,
They're competitive fire. They're not going to say, if they think they can play, they're going to try and play. And so in his mind, he may feel right, but you got to know as a manager to step in.
It's your job as management to protect your players.
And, I can't think of any, what other role you do have as a manager is to protect your players and put yourselves in the best position to win. And whenever you're letting your best pitcher go out there possibly hurt and throwing 100 miles an hour, that's not.
It's April. It was April when he got
This is both their faults, and it actually goes back to the offseason when Syndergaard added 17 pounds of muscle to him without throwing in the offseason. He wanted to give his arm a break. He added 17 pounds of muscle, and people are saying adding that muscle without throwing, you add muscle that isn't trained when you throw with so much velocity like he does. That's why you have this issue with his lat muscle. So that's on Syndergaard for doing that, and it's also on the Mets for not managing his strength and conditioning well enough in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. He's projected to miss about 3 months, so we'll see if it affects the Mets' run at another playoff berth.
Yeah,
you bet it does.
You can only hope it doesn't. Manny Machado recently shared his feelings on the Red Sox organization after yet another game where he was almost hit by a pitch. Kyle, is this rivalry becoming too dangerous?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, anytime you're throwing at someone's knee 100 miles an hour or their head at 100 miles an hour, it's getting too dangerous. You can cause some serious damage. And I think that, we saw when Kevin Gausman got thrown out for throwing a curveball and hitting, I think it was Mookie Betts, he got thrown out immediately for that. Now, a curveball is a little less dangerous, in my opinion, than obviously any pitch that's going over 70 miles an hour is dangerous. But I just think that MLB needs to take some action. Somebody needs to be suspended. I would suspend maybe both managers and even Sale and a couple other pitchers. Now, I know you're going to hurt the teams if you do that, but at the same time, you got to stop this stuff.
I agree. And you got Sale coming out saying, he's not losing any sleep over it. And over, Machado's
well, it's a part of
comments.
baseball. Like, I understand that, but these are people's careers that we're talking about. I mean, if you're going to hit them, and I don't want to be hit. I don't want to be hit anywhere. So
there's the unwritten rule of baseball. You
govern yourself.
One team gets you, you get them back.
Exactly.
You get them back once. You throw at the guy once. Machado's been thrown at 4 times this year?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. I mean, at some point, he's got to be protected.
Yeah, and I agree with him 100%. The MLB has got to start doing something about these pitchers who do throw behind the head or at the knees, like you said, Kyle. He said if he were to charge them out with the bat and beat up the pitcher, he would be suspended for the year if his whole career would be gone.
Be in jail.
Yeah, he'd probably be in jail. And then you got these guys who throw 100 miles an hour at people's heads, and they get, 2 games, they miss a start. Like, it's just not enough. Mm-hmm. It's too inconsistent. The MLB needs to step in and do something about this.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see if they do decide to take any action here soon. The Houston Astros and Texas Rangers finished up their first series of the season. Billy, what have you learned from this series?
Well, I guess we can first say that the Astros have gotten over that hump that they cannot beat the Rangers because right now they're working.
It's still early in the year, okay? Let's not overreact here.
But, I will say they're playing them a lot better right now.
Yeah.
The struggles continue for Texas in hitting and then relieving.
Bullpen,
and our bullpen is it's really not shaping up to be any, like, our best pitchers right now. We got Darvish, Cole Hamels, and A.J. Griffin.
And Cole Hamels is out now for 8 weeks with an oblique injury. Darvish had his last start scratch. Now, that was due to probably his 130 pitches in his previous outings. So.
Yeah, and even then, you're not getting, multiple stretches of wins by these pitchers.
Yeah.
And so, whenever you have that happening, it's putting everybody in a tough spot. The relievers and the closers. Finally we got Dyson out of there. We've had some other closers come in. Matt Bush has stepped in, done fairly well. But, as long as Elvis Andrews is one of our leading hitters right now with the 279 average, we're not going to make it.
Yeah,
the bats just aren't there, guys. I mean, since 1972, 4 teams have had 1 or fewer sac flies in the first 28 games. 4 teams, the 2017 Rangers are one of them. They're not playing any small ball whatsoever. They're not fundamentally sound. Like you said, the bullpen has been terrible. The starter's not much better. I just don't know what to say anymore. I know it's only the start of May, Kyle. I know it is early. But if this continues for even 2-3 more weeks, and now without Cole Hamels, it likely will continue. Yeah, the Rangers got to start thinking about being sellers.
They are, and I think they are end up going to be sellers at the deadline. I just think they have a lot of pieces they can move, especially with their pitching staff. So I do think they'll end up being sellers just because Beltre's still out with the injury. But I'll touch on the Astros real quick. I mean, the starting pitching has been a lot better, excluding Mike Fiers when he gave up the 5 runs. But he even went quite a bit afterwards in that. And McCullers pitched well. Morton has been really strong his last 2 outings. So, the Rangers look like, last time we checked, they were winning today's game. So, the Astros at least took 3. It was nice for them to finally get over that hump and to get a win. I mean, they lost 28 out of the last 38, I believe, against them. So, a win's a win.
A win's a win's a win.
Yeah.
Any way you can do it.
Well, real quick, I want to give a shout-out. Texas Tech baseball, once again, they showed up big, getting that 2 out of 3 against TCU this past weekend. So shout out to them. Women's tennis also winning Big 12 championship. Great for those sports, and we'll see if they can continue it. Well, that's our show for this week's edition of MCTV Sports 101. Unfortunately, this is our last episode of the spring semester, but don't worry, we'll be back in the fall with the latest big-name stories in sports. For Andrew Marks, I'm Kyle Stafford.
And I'm Billy Ingle. Until next time.